Hey there, everybody. Welcome to There Is No Crying in Crochet, the new podcast where Debbie from Madam Stitch and myself, Biz from Busy Crochet, are going to be tackling your everyday crochet frustrations. This week, we're going to be talking about how to tell the right side from the wrong side in crochet. And my friend Debbie, Madam Stitch, has got some really great insight into working in the flat, textured, and working in the round as well. So she's going to go ahead and tackle that right away.
Oh, all right. All right, I'm gonna pick up my little sample here because, it's show and tell time. If you are not told well, first of all, the designer should tell you in the pattern. So you look for that first. So the symbols are RS for right side, WS for wrong side. So if we find that in the pattern, you need to follow that. That will tell you what the designer's intent is. But if that isn't listed, it probably means that the fabric is reversible for whatever reason. So there are a couple of ways to tell. There may not be a right side or a wrong side. So you get to choose what the right side is, which one you want to
Yes.
face up, right? So that's one way to tell.
I do have an
Another
example here. I've got a couple of them if you want me to throw one
Oh,
in
go
there.
for it. Yeah,
All
go
right. So
for it.
this is what would be considered a reversible pattern because
Mhm.
it's exactly the same on both sides. And you can choose which is the front.
Now, Biz, do
Mhm.
you have a border around that? Is that a
I
single crochet
do.
border I see?
It is a
All right,
single crochet border.
yes, so it actually does have a right side, believe it or not, because one of the
Mhm.
ways you can tell the right side of your fabric is which way the top loop is facing you or facing away.
Mhm.
So I put a single crochet border around all of my squares just to give them a nice even edge. And I try to do that on the right side of the fabric, and you'll notice I don't know, it might be hard to see with the white fabric, but you'll notice those top loops are
I
leaning
do.
toward the screen.
Mhm.
So I have the right side facing the screen right now. If you
Mhm.
look at the other side, they're facing away and it looks
Kind of cups
rounded
in
on
the
the back,
opposite direction.
right? So the
Mhm.
wrong side is facing you right now. Now this square is a little bit different. Here's another way to tell. When you're working with textured stitches, like front post, back post, um, front loop, back loop, a lot of the texture will be on the front, and you wanna make sure that that's on the right side when you finish your piece. So
Mhm.
in this particular piece, I have front post treble crochets, and they form a picture on the front of the square. So you'll see
It's
that
one
the
of my
right
favorite
side
stitches. I love front post stitches.
right? They add you can do all kinds of things with them because they
Yeah.
add, you can do designs, if you alternate them with, back post stitches, you can get a
Mhm.
ribbing, there are
Yeah.
lots of things you could do with them, but if you look at the back, the wrong side of the fabric, it's all round. Now it's a little
Yeah.
bumpy just because
Yeah.
it's pulling those stitches, right? But
Mhm.
generally, the interest is not on this side,
Mhm.
it's on this side.
Mhm.
Right, so the 2 things that I love to look for are which direction are those top loops facing? If they're facing toward me, that means I'm looking at the right side.
Mhm.
If, I'm working with textured stitches, then they generally should be on the right side of the fabric. So that's a way 2 ways that you can tell which is right and wrong.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you do a lot of, amigurumi,
Mhm.
right? So
I
could you
do.
talk about working in the round and working with amigurumi?
Absolutely. I do have a couple of examples, and I know we jumped into this really fast, and I kind of threw you right on the spot, and I didn't think about it until after I said it, and then I'm like, oh, geez, we should be so much smoother at this. But hey,
Oh,
this is
you
our
know what?
first official episodes.
And we just gave some good nuggets,
We
right?
did. We
We
did.
did.
Um, all right. So amigurumi has a right side and a wrong side. And one thing that I've noticed and just watching other people make things is that there's a lot of people that let the wrong side of the work be the outside of their work. And if you're familiar with working in the round, I do have a small sample here that I just worked up. This would be what you'd consider the wrong side of an amigurumi piece. This is actually the inside of the work. Do you see how there's that back, um, that little bar from the
Mhm.
back side of the single crochet that actually sticks out? And some people use that as like they'll just put their little eyes on there and that'll be their amigurumi. That is considered the wrong side of the texture though, because what you want in amigurumi is to have that flat surface. If you're looking to get really clean
Oh, cool.
ami pieces, I'm not one who does a lot of the shaping where you can get like the cheeks and all of that stuff. I
Mhm.
don't do any of that. I do very, very simple. But you can do very, very clean, simple amigurumi. And you want to make sure that you have the outside or the right side of your stitches pointing in the right direction in order to achieve. So like if you are you if you're currently working an amigurumi and you're wanting to like maybe take a step up or notch it up a little bit, I would suggest, turning your work so that this side, the clean side, is actually on the outside. Hang on.
Now, what we discussed was that when you start to work that circle,
Mhm,
it is it's you're working, with the right side facing you, but it tends to be a bowl where you're working
mhm.
around the outside of it with
Yeah,
the
this
bowl.
is what it
Yeah.
naturally wants to do.
So after a few rounds, you've gotta turn it the other direction, so you're actually
Mhm,
working what looks like on the inside of the
mhm.
bowl. Yeah.
Especially if you are going to be working. I'm trying to see if I've got anybody here with little arms. I do. Hang on. So this guy, if whoa, there we go. So this is a Mew from Pokemon, but his little arms start out with like a 4 or a 5 or a 6 in that tip. So when you're working that along, especially like you can see, I'm not really increasing until I get to about here on the arm. This is going
Mhm,
to naturally want to create this little tube with the wrong side of the
mhm.
single crochet on the outside. So what I tend to do is when I get it to that point, I just hook my hook in there and I grab onto it and just slide my work this way. And the reason I do that is because it's always so tight when
Mhm.
you're making little arms and things of that nature that it's a nightmare to try and get the right side pointing out when it's a really tiny little tube.
Yeah, I agree. That's a
So
great tip.
it's just a time saver, a life saver, whatever you want to call it. Because otherwise, you're going to be ripping your hair out trying to get it out and not stretch all the stitches out. Because
Or ripping out your hair. Yeah, yeah. Ripping
yeah,
out
that
your
too.
crochet, right?
Oh, we already put enough of it in our work. We don't want to. I mean, don't
Let's
tell
not
me
get
that you don't
started
crochet
on
your
how
work in
many
every piece.
Yeah, we're not gonna get started on how many gray hairs I have in all of the blankets I make. It's just kind of disgusting. Um, do you have anything else that you wanted to share about amigurumi as far as right side versus wrong side? I do
Um,
agree that the right side really does look a lot cleaner and smoother
mhm.
than the wrong side, and, there may be folks out there who actually prefer the wrong side.
Yes, I mean,
They prefer the look of it.
it may technically be a wrong side, but you're right. There are people who that's how they like their work to look, and that's perfectly fine. Personally, I find it a little bit chaotic only because I like to have that clean surface to look at. I feel like it makes my amigurumi look a little bit more professional. I'm not trying to tell you that anybody's not professional because they let the wrong side out. I'm just saying that's how I see it.
I also think it makes it easier to count the stitches when
Mhm.
when you're looking for placement for eyes or for nose
Yes.
or for body parts, it's easier to see where the stitches are when you're looking at the right side.
And especially if you're going to use a stitch marker that's gonna maybe hang off your
Mhm,
stitch like that, when you're on this oofta, when you're on this side of it, it's kind of hard because the stitch actually does look a little bit different on the back
mhm.
side.
It does. Yeah, all of the stitches do. So you'll notice, let's say I'm doing a piece that's row after row of double crochet. Now that's a reversible stitch, right? But
Mhm.
you'll notice that you can see, you can see it on this one because this is all double crochet. So
Mhm.
apart um, from the textured stitches, you'll
Yeah.
notice that, oh, here it is, that you can see 2 rows at a time are pointed the different what one sticks out at the bottom, the next
Mhm.
stitch, the rows of stitches pull in on itself, so you can see, row after row of those, you get that ridge that happens
Mhm.
up there.
Mhm.
Now, we haven't talked about working in the round. You have talked about working in the round a little bit with your amigurumi, but I
Mhm.
do a lot of cowls and infinity scarves that work in the
Mhm.
round.
Mhm.
Um, and as a general rule, you don't turn after any round. So I try to design all of those so that if there are any textured stitches or whatever you want, are all on the outside of the work or on the right side facing you as you work. But there
Mhm.
are some designers who like to turn after certain rounds or after every round to get a totally different look. So you
Mhm.
just kind of have to look at the pattern and see what the designer is asking of you.
Mhm.
And again, if they don't say in the pattern, in general, when you're working in the round, the side that's facing you as you work the entire thing, if you don't turn after any round, is
Mhm.
the right side, and that's the one that you want facing out.
Mhm. I have an example here that kind of speaks to that. This is the ornament that I designed last year. So it is worked in the round. However, one row goes it's on the right side, but these little guys are actually made on the wrong side. And
Mhm,
I have you flip and turn because I want that bobble to stick out. So, but that's something in the pattern that I've notated as
mhm.
mark this side as the right side.
Yeah, and that speaks to you want your textured stitches to pop to the
Mhm.
right side of the fabric, right?
Mhm.
Um, there were a couple of things that I found in researching this because, we don't know everything.
No.
We know how we like to work, right, Biz?
Yes. Yes.
But we don't know all the things. So I did a little bit of research, and I'm not sure how I feel about these, but I'm gonna put them out there so that you can make your own decisions. Um, there was one that I found very interesting, and I think this applies to when the
Sorry.
fabric is truly reversible. This is a way to tell which is the right side. So let's say I don't have an example here, but let's say you have a square and you started with your foundation chain. So your
Mhm.
yarn tail's hanging out, the
Mhm.
beginning yarn tail's hanging out, and you work
Yeah.
row after row after row.
Yeah.
When you've worked the last row and you have it facing you, which direction is the yarn tail coming off of the piece? Is it
Mhm.
coming off of the left hand bottom corner or off of the right hand bottom corner?
Mhm.
And this particular designer said if the yarn tail is coming off to the left, then you are looking at the right side. Also
Mhm.
keep in mind that if that's the case, you have an odd number of rows.
Oh,
Because you started with, if you think about it, here's your yarn tail. Where's my finger?
yeah.
Yarn tail. You do your foundation chain, but your
Mhm.
first row comes up and it works back toward the yarn tail. So
Yeah.
that's your right side.
Yeah.
That's just
And
another
then
way to
odd.
tell. Yeah. I know.
I never even thought about the odd row, even row thing. That's a good point to
Only because they consider that first row the right side. I believe
sure.
that's what I read. So don't quote me on that. This is not a way that I tell right side from wrong side. I'm just sharing what I've read on the internet.
Yeah, but it's definitely worth a theory worth trying out.
Absolutely. Let's see if there's anything that I forgot. I don't think so. I think did we get it all? Oh my goodness, we did. So should we recap? We should probably recap.
Sure, we can
Yeah,
recap.
right. So recap. Let's hope your designer has told you if the right side matters. But if it
Mhm.
doesn't, you can look for those top loops. And if they lean toward you, that's your right side.
Mhm.
Remember my trick when I do a square, I always make sure that the single crochet, the last row is done on the right side of the fabric so that those loops lean in toward the right side of the fabric rather than away from. Like, there's the right side with Biz, there's the wrong side with Deb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because to me, it looks messy to me if the loops are leaning away from me
Mhm.
for the right
I
side.
agree. I agree.
Um, Biz was talking about making sure that you have the right side of the fabric on the outside of amigurumi because your stitches are easy to see. It's much cleaner look and more professional looking. Yes.
And that's the wrong side.
If you're working with textured stitches, pull up those baubles or popcorns, whatever you got there. You
Mhm.
want all of those to be on the right side of the fabric so the interest is for people to see because you went to all that work. You don't want it
Yes.
hidden on the wrong side, right?
Yes.
Um, and if in doubt, it's whatever looks best to you. Isn't that great? I love that. Whatever looks best to you is the right side.
Yeah,
You
because
get
if you don't like the way that it looks when it's done, that's then there's no point. I mean, because we're doing it because we're happy, right? We're creating because we're happy. We have our hands in yarn because it makes us happy. And if what we're creating based on somebody else's vision doesn't make us happy, then we have the right to change it.
We absolutely do. Power to the crochet.
Absolutely, because there is no crying in crochet.
Exactly. So if you aren't happy with something, don't cry about it. Change it.
That's right.
There
Hey,
you
we're
go.
going to be a life affirming podcast, right?
Oh my goodness. If my crochet doesn't make me relaxed, I put it down. That I
Yeah.
just have to be doing something, even if it's an intricate pattern, I need it
Hmm.
to be relaxing and right
Hmm.
up here, not on the page.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I have to feel that same challenge. You said even if it's an intricate pattern, it's not that I don't want to do an intricate pattern, but I'm stumbling over my words because I just want it to be a comfortable, intricate, challenging, that's why I do the intricate one is because I want to be
Mhm.
challenged, but I don't want to be stressed out by it. Boy, that took a
Exactly.
long time to get to that sentence.
But you know what? The whole time you were working on it, I knew exactly what you were saying. So
Oh, good Lord.
you got it
That
going
was
on.
bad.
Actually, that would make a great episode. We talk about why we crochet. I mean, there are
Mhm,
so many reasons. Each person is different, but for me, it just calms me down. But I'm
mhm.
not going to get into that here because that would take us another 20, 30 minutes. And I guess we have some NCIS to talk about, don't we?
We do. Here's gonna be the silly part of our podcast. We're just gonna start talking about stuff we love beyond crochet, and we just happen to
Mhm.
have the same love of true crime. And this week we're going to be discussing NCIS and why we do or don't watch it. And but I wanted to first off because I screwed up when we started our first episode here, and we have some ice breaking questions that we were going to
Oh,
ask so you could get to know us better. So I'm going to ask Debbie to tell me, what is your favorite crochet drink? Like when you're crocheting, what are you drinking?
well, I would love to say wine, but that can get tricky. Every evening, I'm such an old geezer sometimes. Every evening, and you laugh, but here we go. Every evening, we watch Jeopardy. Our
Hmm.
beautiful little mini Aussie doodle, Daisy, 18 pounds of pure energy and fluff, sings to the final Jeopardy song. And then my
Oh my
husband
gosh.
makes us a cup of tea, and
Uh-huh.
I crochet the evening away with my cup of tea.
Oh, how
So we get
nice.
them from all over the place. We like to try different teas and
Do you have a
experiment. So,
favorite?
right now, the brand that we're really into is called Good Earth, and I can only get it on Amazon. It's not available here in the Lehigh Valley. Um,
Mhm,
so there are different flavors, vanilla chai,
mhm.
chamomile, that sort of thing. And I'm not bothered by caffeine, so we basically have whatever we like the taste of that evening.
Nice.
So
That's nice.
tea, but
Tea,
wine is
that's
a
it.
backup, depending upon the day. So,
But mine is water. I drink water almost exclusively just because caffeine does bother me
mm,
and sugar bothers me. And so I occasionally will have a zero sugar A&W root beer, very occasionally. But
very nice.
soda tends to bloat me really bad. You're finding out all the things you never wanted to know. So, so I just turn into like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man when I drink soda.
Oh my
So,
lord.
so water's kind of my go-to drink for everything. I had to
Oh
stop drinking
gosh.
coffee because it bothers my joints. I had to stop drinking,
Oh
whatever.
gosh. I would have a heart attack if I had to give up my coffee, but
Oh
that's in the
man,
morning. I crochet with that in the morning. I guess I should have said that. So
that's
I
okay.
drink all day, whatever. Um, so my question for you is,
Mhm.
what is your favorite food of all times? I mean, you could eat this no matter what, hands down.
I'm probably gonna say pizza because if we're talking about hands down, I could eat it all of the time. Of course, it would depend on toppings, but pizza's probably my favoriteest food of all foods. I grew up in a family where my dad came from a farming background, so, it was meat and potatoes on the table,
Mhm.
and my mom grew up all over the world because my grandfather was in the military, so she had a much wider range of tastes, but she couldn't cook. So, everything was meat and potatoes. So, I think pizza is probably the one really special thing that I remember that has carried throughout my life.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
And pizzeria pizza, like,
I
mm,
mean, real pizza, not
mhm.
the chain pizzas.
Yeah, I mean, I will
Absolutely.
eat chain pizza because 'cause I'm just not that proud, but, I prefer I prefer a pizzeria pizza.
That's your special go-to.
Yes.
That's
Yes, and we
awesome.
actually found one in town that is really reminiscent of the stuff we used to be able to get back in Wisconsin, so we're a little bit excited about that.
Perfect.
So do
Perfect.
you have a food?
Oh gosh, I can't eat it, a lot, but I love my homemade chocolate chip cookies. They
Oh,
just
yum.
mm. Yeah, others have tried to make it, but and
No.
it's just a recipe that I've adapted. It's an
Mhm,
old I think it might be Betty Crocker or something, an old
mhm.
recipe, that they've actually changed it since they first published it,
Oh, wow.
and I've just modified it tweaks, and it
Mhm.
is unbelievable.
And
It's
sometimes
so
you
good.
just hit perfection, and it's just the way it is.
There you go.
And it's an art because my husband makes spaghetti sauce, and he tells everybody, like, he won't keep the recipe for himself, but it's been an amalgam of my mother's sauce, his dad's sauce, my grandfather's sauce, and all of the things, and then he just weighs out flavor by feel.
Mhm.
So, he can tell you what's in it, but it's never gonna taste the same as his.
Yeah, I have friends who cook like that. I can't. I it has to be, "Here's the measuring cup, go."
Make it precise.
There's
Give
no
me instructions.
eyeballing.
Alrighty, so let's talk about
Oh,
NCIS.
yes.
I brought out my nerdy little collection here because I have season 1 and season 2
Oh,
on
yes.
DVD. And what you and I were talking about is how we find that we are very character driven because when we were
Mhm.
talking about NCIS in our discussion, we were talking about how I kind of fell out of love with it after like Ziva and Tony left the show
Right. Yeah, I
because
get that.
I was in love with those characters and they were the reason I watched the show.
Mhm.
So once they were gone and that storyline was gone, I'm not one that just falls in love with everybody just because they put them on the show. But you are a far more dedicated NCIS watcher.
Well, this comes from what do you watch in the evening? I mean, if my husband had his way about it, it would be baseball and football every night.
Oh God, mine
Um,
too.
And I love watching them. I'm a big Phillies fan, Eagles, yay, they're fabulous, but,
Mhm.
there's only so much life, especially when I'm going to the Little League baseball. So every night don't get me started. Um, every night we watch an hour-long drama, and our favorite
Mhm.
station is CBS.
Okay.
So I just kept continuing to watch it, and I have to say that they've had some lows, like
Mhm.
when, oh, what was her name? Polly Perrette. What was her character's name? It's been
Oh,
so
dang it, I don't know.
it's been so long since she's been on there, but when she started leaving and Ducky started to be
Mhm.
on there less and less, I stuck
Mhm.
it out for McGee's sake. I mean, he's so cute,
He is,
and
he's
he's so good,
adorable. I
right?
love
He's
his
so right?
character.
So I actually stuck around because of him,
Uh-huh.
and there were a few characters they brought in that were questionable at best, but I think now they've kind of landed on a core team that's not
Okay.
bad. They've got a good rapport going with each other, and
Mhm.
the characters are starting to develop in a way that I'm enjoying. So, I don't know if it's worth going back to watch, but yes, I'm a diehard. I stuck through all gajillion seasons,
Mhm.
and here we are.
See, my husband, has to go to sleep with TV on.
Ah,
So, I hate having the TV on, so I want him to put on something that doesn't interest me on any level because I'm a right now sleeper. I can I can look at him and say, "My eyes are closing and I'm gone," you know? But him, he just it takes him forever and ever to go
oh
to
my
sleep, so he's
gosh.
gotta have something that he wants to watch until it puts him to sleep. So, I've been through NCIS. I've been through all of the seasons. I just don't
Oh,
know really what's going on in any of the seasons because 'cause I'm sleeping through most of them.
gotcha.
Um, yes, so I totally understand where you're coming from as far as, like, when the new characters come in, that was part of my problem is I didn't maybe because I wasn't part of everything as it was going along and I was sleeping to most of it, I didn't love them on the same level that you would if you knew what was going on, you know?
Yeah, I'm
But,
not gonna say that it was all good because it wasn't, but
mhm,
they've tried really hard, and I think if they can keep this team in place, they might get
mhm,
another few seasons out of it. Who knows?
right. And so what are your thoughts, though, on the spin-offs of those shows? Like,
I
where they've got the NCIS. Abby, thank you. Catherine said
Oh
Abby.
my gosh, thank you, Catherine. Hello.
You're a savior.
I that was a major brain fart. Who could forget Abby, please? I absolutely love the Hawaii version. I love the characters. I love the scenery. Oh my gosh, it's just so
Okay.
gorgeous to watch, and
I may have to give that
they've
one a
done a
try
great
then.
job of developing that team. I really like that one.
Mhm.
Um, I'm still a fan of Los Angeles,
Okay.
but
I
it's getting
never
a
could get
little
into that
weird.
one,
They keep talking about Hetty, and Hetty's gone. They need to just let her go.
and
Um,
I had a hard time okay, so I grew up with LL Cool J, okay? And,
mm.
as far as him being cool and him starting out as a rapper, it's kind of like watching Mark Wahlberg as an actor. Every time I see him, I'm like, "Oh, it's Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch." Because that's who he's gonna be to me forever.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're good actors, but I don't know what it is about him. I just can't get into that show. I want to really bad.
Yeah, Catherine says, "I agree, Debbie. Good going right now. Good group right now. Hawaii is good too. Never liked LA, they've just kept that one on too long. It was
Okay.
great when they had that core group, but now they're starting to try to limp along with the admiral who is just I'm sorry, he's the worst. He's a great actor, but in this, they just have him doing things that are not fun to watch. He's trying to
Okay.
be a grumpy old admiral, and it just comes across as, "You why are you so angry?"
It's kinda like they wanna keep recreating Gibbs over and over and over.
Yeah, and
And Gibbs
Gibbs
is a
was
singular character.
he's the only one who can do that. Yep,
Yes.
so
Yes, I agree with you there. But so it sounds like, yeah, LA maybe wasn't quite such a popular one.
I don't think so, but I think Catherine, did you say that, it's ending this year? I think this is the last year,
Mhm.
which is probably a good thing. They need to move on.
Mhm. Do they
But
have any kinds of spin-offs? Do you remember, Jag?
oh, yeah, I watched that
Didn't
religiously when that was
didn't
on.
Jag come off of NCIS, or was it the backwards way? Was it NCIS came off of Jag, or Jag came off of NCIS?
Well, they're related. I don't know which came
Yeah,
first.
yeah, me either, I can't. Ooh, we're gonna have to research that one.
Okay,
Catherine says
maybe we
only
do
when
that one for
things.
next time. Which came first, the chicken or the egg, Jag or NCIS, right?
Yeah. Okay, so are there any storylines in NCIS that are your favorite? Since I'm not as well versed in these and I can only remember bits and pieces here and there because I just purged it from my brain. Um, are there any storylines that you love?
Oh gosh. I think it would take me longer than I have here to figure that out. I basically like what they do every week.
Do you ever
I
find
did
it
like
repetitive?
I'm sorry?
Do you ever find it to be repetitive at all?
Well, it's formulaic. So they
Mhm.
basically say, "This is the formula we're gonna follow," and then they fill in the gaps. I
Mhm.
think they do get a little repetitive with the things they do with their relationships.
Okay.
Um, but no, it's repetitive only because that's the type of TV it is. It's formulaic, so they just follow there's a crime. My husband will sit there. I have to slap him every time he does this, and I do it in a nice way. We love each other, it's great.
Love
Um,
you.
yeah, right? They'll do the lead in, and then the commercial comes, and then they get
Uh-huh.
into the story, right? And the lead in is always, "What crime are we solving this week?" We were sitting there watching, NCIS LA last night, and he goes, "He's gonna look around that bush and find a dead body." And I s
Oh my
and as it
god, I knew
turns
you were
out
gonna say that because my husband does the exact same thing. It's like as soon as something starts, he lays it all out. It's like, "Shut up. I wanted to be
except,
surprised."
here's the funny part, it wasn't a dead body. The dead body was the guy looking behind the bush. He ended up being the dead body.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
booyah, granny, you can't do that.
Just stop trying to figure it out. And my husband, every single time we watch a mystery movie or like a horror movie or this or that or the other, he's like, "Oh, the bad guy's over there. He's over there." Well, thank you for ruining it for me. And they always laugh at me because every jump scare, I jump and I'm
Do you
scared.
really?
Because I get into whatever story they're telling. If I'm watching something, I'm paying attention to it typically. Now, when I'm crocheting and we just have stuff on because he needs something to watch or there just needs to be noise in the background, that's the kind of stuff that I hear about every third sentence.
Yeah,
But if I have a movie on that I'm purposely watching, I get scared if it's a jump scare. And they laugh at me every single time because every one of them gets me.
that's awesome. That is so awesome.
My son is like, you're so pure and dopey, mom. Thank you. I try hard."
It's who we are.
Oh, so are there any parting words that you would like to leave our watchers today about NCIS?
Oh, well, I would
Well,
say give it a try, but it might be a little late. But if you want to, they've got them. I have Hulu Live, so I can go in and
mhm.
watch old episodes if I want. But, um, you know, give it a try if you want. Just try to put all things aside and not make any judgments and just enjoy the show because I don't think you can get too wound up about it.
I wanna say the first probably 6 or 7 seasons are really good because it has a story that it tells for, a long time, but they do it well, and
Mhm.
it seems like when they start trying to kind of recycle things and when it was the back and forth with Gibbs is there, Gibbs isn't there, Gibbs is there, Gibbs isn't there,
Yeah.
that's when it kinda started to lose some interest for me
Yeah.
because I fall in love with characters,
Yeah.
And I'm if the character that I love stops being there and there's like a vacuum, oh, Catherine, this girl, she is keeping us on our toes. Um, when
Thank you, Catherine.
if there's a vacuum of a character and they don't fill it with something else that's just as good or just as interesting, I have a tendency to drop it.
Yeah, I'm a little more hardcore, and I think it's because I just don't feel like finding something else to watch. It's
I think
it's
that's my
there.
husband's theory as well. Like
It's there. I'm gonna
I
watch
like
it.
it. It's there's another one, and this isn't related to that, but Blue Bloods, my husband has watched every episode. I just can't.
Yeah, I can't watch that one either.
But as far as NCIS is concerned, it is a really good show, and I highly recommend the first 5 to, possibly 10 seasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. Are there any things that you would like, any parting words that we would like to leave them about crocheting on the right and wrong side? And we did a good uh recap
No, I
before,
can't
but
no, I think we gave them all the wisdom. Just
okay,
have fun with your crochet this week. Frogging is a good thing.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And if you don't want a frog, it's okay to walk away from it too.
Yep. Put it
Because I
down.
do it all the time. Because
Put it
sometimes
in.
frogging is you've got nightmare yarn and it just won't frog. I know I've got
Oh,
some over there.
oh gosh.
I'll tell you one that's a real nightmare. One of my favorite yarns ever. Scapy's stone washed
Oh, I
yarn. It's got
love
the
that
little
stuff.
fuzz on it.
Mhm.
That is a nightmare.
Yep.
But if
Especially
you've
if you're
got a
doing
nightmare
tight
yarn, don't worry about
stitches.
it. We'll say that again.
Especially if you're doing tight stitches.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. And so just do what makes you happy with your crochet. Don't don't feel like you're doing something wrong. If there's something that we said today that you don't agree with, that's okay. You're welcome to leave comments and it below because this is going to be on YouTube forever. So if you happen to watch it, thank you for watching. Um, it is in both of our YouTube channels. So you can get notification from Busy Crochet's YouTube channel. You can get notifications from Madam Stitch's YouTube channel because it's going to be available in both spots. That way you can know when we're going live, but it's going to be every single Friday at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. So make sure that you come back because we're going to get better and better and better at this.
And so many fun things to talk about, right?
Absolutely. It's going to be a brand new true crime show every single week that we're going to discuss. So if you have anything that you would like for us to talk about, any subjects, if you have any crochet frustration questions, if you have any true crime shows that you would like for us to address, make sure that you leave comments for us so that we know what to bring to you.
We are always looking for new stuff.
Absolutely. And if we haven't seen it, we're absolutely willing to go watch it.
Oh, yeah.
All
Like
right.
I
So
said,
we're
I'll
going to
stick with the
sign
show
off.
until it dies, so I need something new.
Yes. Oh, yes. I mean, we're starting to run out of things. So, have a great day, ladies. Love your show. Thank you, Catherine. We appreciate that so
Thank you,
much.
Catherine.
Thanks for joining us. And we're going to sign off and say so long for this time. And I hope you have a blessed day.
Happy crocheting.
Yes.